Good morning, good morning. Hey, good morning from Portugal. Nice. Good morning. All right. So quantum field theory. So here's what you need to know about this stuff to make it work in your life. Number one, we are all fields of duality expressing, we're fields of quantum duality expressing ourselves as waves. What does that mean in layman's terms? Notice that you cannot feel the same every single day. We all agree on that, correct? Every moment, every time. Do you notice today you're in a very good high vibration, everything is going good, nothing's happening, but the next day you wake up, you all of a sudden feel down and in a funk, and you're thinking to yourself, what changed? It means that the human body or the human being, the physical component of who we are, is not our true expression. It's just a pattern that's created from the quantum or the molecular world, and our brains decode it, and we see things as humans or human beings, etc. So in quantum field theory, everything is a part of this field. So within this field, it's a field of, look at it like a field of energy. Life comes from that field. Probabilities come from that field. Every single thing comes from that field. You come from that field. But the thing is, that field is still existing. The field is measured by energy, the vibration, the frequency, and oscillation of that field. The thing about the field, the thing about quantum physics, and I'm going to talk about how it relates to manifesting, is in quantum physics, the particle or the atom, the proton, electron, neutron, which you are a part of, it can be in two places at the same time. Okay, not only that, it can access multiple possibilities or probabilities. Not only that, we could go beyond multiple. We go about, how about infinite possibilities and probabilities? Well, according to quantum physics, it was called the many worlds interpretation, and it's called universe inflation theory, states that the universe is infinite, and that there are not only infinite universes, but there are actually bubbles on bubbles of universe. And within these universe, potentially existing right next to you is a version of yourself right now in this moment, next moment, next moment. And this version of you is doing the same exact thing, but in a different concept. I'm here sitting in this car, the version of me doing the same thing, a different hat, different glasses, different shirt. It could be any amount of things. But the interesting is, this version occupies any desire you can imagine and see, and not only you're fulfilling them. Now, what's so important about that is what drives all of this is the watcher, the higher self, what we call the best way to put it, it's the observer or your consciousness or a conscious being or conscious awareness. That's what's driving all this stuff. The thing about consciousness is eternal and universal. It goes in all these different universes. So that means my consciousness is split with what we would call my doppelganger consciousness, but they're independent, but they're having different experiences. Now, I could show you theoretically how this works so that you can understand for yourself. Most of this stuff is by experiencing and seeing how you are so powerful. Okay. The next time you're up, next time you're down, next time you're more inspired, next time you may not be, all this stuff is happening, right? You're saying to yourself, what's happening? How about these thoughts that you aren't even thinking, but they're coming into your head? You're like, where's this coming from? Where's that coming from? Well, here's what's happening, man. Here's what's happening. Because of what we discovered in quantum field theory, which now we know that quantum entanglement, that nothing is separate, what's actually happening is you're actually feeling, or you're traversing through parallel versions of yourself. You're picking up that self that's confident, the next day you're picking up that self that's down, next day you're picking up that self that's inspiring. So that means you are actually tapping into every potential possibility or probability of your desire. That's why nothing can be the same on a constant. It has to shift. Those thoughts you're getting, same thing. They're all coming from different possibilities, different probabilities, different universes, different consciousness. Some of them are yours, some of them are not. So we are all receivers of information. Does that make sense? That's very important to understand. Now, being positive is key. You can be positive, but you can't be positive all the time. You have to be able to observe, and this is where the power of observation without absorbing comes in. This is why you have to be able to observe both the positive and the negative and give them the same feedback. That will put things in a neutrality thing, and that will make things normal for you, and that's how you manifest. All right, so quantum field theory, go over again. states that everything exists in probabilities, possibilities. You have infinite versions. There's always different things that you can create. You're always a wave. You're constantly moving and oscillating. Okay, manifestation, that goes into the consciousness. Consciousness now is the awareness of our self-being. Okay, in a consciousness, it inhabits the mind of the brain. The brain now is a receiver of information. The brain, because it evolved on a three-dimensional plane. Now, when we go to the dimensions, now we live or we exist on three-dimensional planes as human beings, as physical form. And in this three-dimensional plane, we use our prefrontal cortex, which is called your ego, your conscious mind, to do primarily most of the work. The subconscious does the work below. We'll get to that in a second. But in the conscious mind, it has a very unique capability. It is a great illusionist. It's a great magician. It's a great trickster. It actually fools you and tricks you and convinces you of something you're really not. And I'll tell you a perfect example. You're not your name. You're not your age. You're not in a city. You're not in a state. You're not, actually, you're not nothing. Nothing exists and everything is just happening. But the brain, because it has to create survival mechanism, hence fear, doubt, worry, hence a name, a personality, which we created again and invented by society. We call that the matrix, which give you a gender, an age, all this stuff. So all that became your personality, and that's all derived and that's all procreated by the ego or the conscious mind. Now we go back to the top of the awareness. Now within that, your awareness still exists, and it's still hovering, and it's still interacting with the physical 3D body. Now your awareness in the higher self primarily interacts below your consciousness, which is in the subconscious mind, and that is where you can get intuition. Now what the higher self does now, it interacts within the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind feeds information to the intellect mind, which is the ego mind. The ego mind interprets it, and then things manifest. Manifestation is the process of bringing something from the non-physical into what we call the physical. Here's what you need to know about manifestation. Manifestation is really everything is already manifested, but we make language to make it easier for our brains to understand. I gotta say this to make this simple for you too. First of all, your brain doesn't understand language. It understands behavior, emotions, and action. So if I tell my brain, hey, make me more money, make me more successful, that is not going to work. My brain does not understand that. We understand that. We are humans. We made language up. Key point, your brain understands behaviors and things of that sort. So remember that. All right, going back now. Within the higher self, it talks to the subconscious. Subconscious communicates to you. How is that all done? It's done through the imagination. So manifestation is using the imagination to see something in the mind and bring it into the physical form. So got that so far? You can reprogram your DNA. You reprogram your DNA through your imagination. Everything is information. So let me show you how this stuff works and what you are. So what about reprogramming your DNA? What happens with a lot of individuals is they get caught up in the self. They get caught up in their name, their age, their race, their religion, their job, their title, their country, whatever it is. They get caught up in the matrix. That's the game. They get caught up in all that. And when the more you get caught up into that, the more you convince the subconscious that is real. Why is that? Because your subconscious is irrational. Nothing is real or nothing is fake. Everything is the same. But if you keep sending a signal to it in your world, it becomes real because your conscious mind says it. And so all this, remember, all the subconscious does, guys, is prove to you what you focus on and think about the most, and it makes that reality. And your conscious mind decodes that, analyzes that, and says this is true, this is not. So let's go back to that. So what happens is people get caught up into this notion that they are this limited being. Key point, the brain, in the conscious mind, it is limited. In the unconscious, it is limitless. Most people don't exist in the limitless part of the mind. Most people exist in the limited part of the mind, and this is done through social programming. That's what they're surrounded with. So people get inundated with this lackluster, limited life. Hence, they lose a lot of hope. They get desperation comes in, lack comes in, depression comes in, because the mind is saying, I can't figure it out. I can't see it. There is no hope. There's nothing. So unbeknownst to them, they have this powerful part of them that exists, but no one is teaching them to tap into that. I just think there's a taboo about letting people know, or teaching or training people to exit the self and get into the higher self. Leave the lower self, go into the higher self. Lower self, ego, higher self. You get the picture. And that's what you are. So unfortunately, we've been programmed and conditioned to tune into the negative part of the self, of the, I'm just using self to just make sense to you, of your true being. We've been conditioned to programmed to be focused on that version of us that is limited, lack, desperate, needy, not enough. It's out there, it's infinite. So that's the problem. We've been programmed into doing that. Now the electron or the atom, it's observation based on our observation. It means it's conscious. It knows when you look, it says, oh, he's looking, so let me create something. He knows when he's not looking. That's called awareness. That's a level of consciousness. You control that as well. See how that works? Yes, manifestation can work even in morning, because you don't need to be always in a high vibe to manifest, right? Remember that. You can manifest in any form. The fact is, manifestation is all about intent, right? But the point is that when you understand how reality works and you see the science behind it, it gives you more faith and persistence to do it. So that's what I did. I kept going back to how this stuff works and what the evidence and what stuff shows in quantum physics. And that was able to maintain it, and then the rest of the results, I successfully got that stuff. Someone asked me here, when you visualize, you talk in your head. You can, theoretically, yeah, you talk in your head through images, or you could talk in your head in mind. Yeah. So, do you control your ego? Yes. Now that's something that you can control and interpret, because again, you have the awareness. You have awareness of everything. So you have the awareness even of the ego. And because you have awareness of the ego, what the ego has what we call willpower. That means you can able to do something. You can override your mind temporarily. That's a good thing. So the problem is, most people don't separate. They don't understand separation from the ego. In other words, most people think they are themselves. That's the bottom line. They didn't know that the ego is a separate component. They don't know that. They think that this is just me and who I am. They have no idea that there's different components happening. So that's the main problem. Now for you guys, and for people who one day woke up, or one day they were lucky enough to find this information, and one day they learn that, oh my God, so that voice that's always tormenting my head is not me. And oh, there is a part of me that's called an ego. Oh, there's actually no self existing in me, right? Now that's where that's where enlightenment comes in. That's where now truth starts to grow, right? How do you identify the ego's voice or the higher self? Okay, that's what we're. So to identify the ego's voice, it will always be a voice that will make you feel some sort of way. The ego's voice will most likely, ego's voice will always make you feel uneasy, uncomfortable, worried, doubtful, anxious, regretful. That's ego. Anytime you ever feel inspired, peace, cool, optimistic, your higher self is talking to you. Yeah, someone says you won the lottery. You won the lottery like 100 times by being born. So that's something for you to think about. So that's why when you're here, make something with your life. Do something purposeful with your life. Help, create, evolve. Go live your dream. Go for your goal. Live your life, man. Do these things. Don't let your mind stop you. Go for it, because you're already predestined to do it anyway. Just go with it. Let it happen, man. If you're struggling with pain and health issues, emotional, we all have that. Realize that, okay, it's my perception of these things. It's not me. It's just a part of me. I can beat it. I am the higher self. I am the observer. All of this stuff, you can really change your perception. You can live a more quality, better life. None of this stuff to get you down, because by you being here, you already won, man. You already won. You got to remember that. You got to remind yourself of that, because that gets lost in the shuffle. Like I said, there's this taboo about showing people what the real secret, how things work, is that the fact that you're here. You're here to do big things. You're just not here to exist. The reason you feel you're here to exist is the matrix, the propaganda they put in your head, man. But just remember this, guys. The odds of you being born is a stupendous odds, man. If You watch his channel, my lottery stuff. Okay, you know about the lottery, right? You will win the lottery 10 to 20 times more than being born. So let that sink in. You really gotta let that sink in. I'll stop and think about that right now. Just don't let that pass over your head. When I hit you, maybe it'll take an hour after this video, I repost this video. It'll hit you. You'll be like, damn, this guy just said some deep stuff. With that being said, I'll catch you guys next time.